Surprising military aviation facts you haven't heard about. In the movie Top Gun Maverick, a high G pull out of the mountain is being referred to as the coffin corner.
It's coffin corner.
However, this term has been used incorrectly. Coffin corner refers to a region of flight where the aircraft has a very little margin between its stall speed and the maximum allowable speed. Let's take the example of a U-2 Dragon Lady. This aircraft frequently operates at extreme altitudes where the margin between the stall speed and the maximum allowable speed can be as low as 5 knots. If the pilot slows down too much, the aircraft will stall and fall out of the sky. Conversely, if the pilot increases the speed even slightly beyond the maximum allowable speed, the airframe can lose control. This narrow margin is what defines the coffin corner, which in my opinion is far scarier than what has been depicted in Top Gun Maverick. Fastest roll rate. The A4 Skyhawk has the highest roll rate of any fighter aircraft in existence. At 760 degrees per second, the roll rate is so fast that it can cause the pilot to black out due to intense G-forces. F-104 sharp wings. The wings of the F-104 were so sharp at only 0.04 mm thick that protective guards had to be put in place when the aircraft was on the ground to avoid harming the ground crew. F-104 howls. The F-104 is also famous for the howling sound its J79 engine produces. Listen to it here. MiG-21 rockets. The MiG-21 has the option to carry booster rockets called RATOs that provide an additional boost in speed during takeoff or can also be used to gain additional altitude in a zoom climb. F-18 can't do a Cobra. Contrary to popular belief, the F-18 cannot perform a Cobra maneuver. Only a few aircrafts are capable of executing a Cobra maneuver in real life, such as the Flanker family of aircrafts, for example the Su-27, Su-30, etc. F-15 Eagle kills. The F-15 Eagle has an impressive combat kill-to-loss ratio at 104-0, meaning that no F-15 has ever been lost in combat. Drag chutes. Fighter aircraft such as the MiG-21, Mirage 2000 and many others are equipped with drag chutes to reduce their landing distances. These chutes can even be deployed before the aircraft touches the ground to achieve an extremely short landing, which also looks cool. However, this maneuver can be quite risky and is only performed by experienced pilots during air shows. F-18 gun sparks. The F-18 produces an impressive display of gun sparks on the cockpit when its guns are fired. This effect is highly visible at night and is absolutely mind-blowing. F-16 Fighting Falcon. F-16 Fighting Falcon, more fondly known as the Viper, was the first ever aircraft to be equipped with fly-by-wire control. The B-52 starter fortress has the unique ability to rotate all its tires during a crosswind takeoff, allowing for optimal flight performance. This feature helps the aircraft maintain stability and control during takeoff in adverse conditions. The F-15 Eagle has a high lift-to-drag ratio due to its large fuselage, allowing it to fly even with a loss of a wing. In a training flight in Israel, an F-15 collided with a A4 and lost a wing, yet it was able to land safely. F-15 has an impressive thrust-to-weight ratio, enabling it to accelerate even during vertical maneuvers, just like a rocket. During the Vietnam War, the B-52 was the last bomber in the history to shoot down a fighter aircraft using its tail gun. The aircraft shot down was a MiG-21 and was claimed to be a tail gun kill. Certain variants of the MiG-21, such as the MiG-21N, SN, and PFM, were capable of delivering tactical nuclear weapons, including the RN-28 and RN-24. The F-8 Crusader had a unique feature called variable incidence wings that allowed the angle of attack of the wings to change for easier takeoffs and landings. This design enabled the aircraft to operate at high angle of attack while keeping the fuselage close to horizontal, providing better forward visibility. All aircrafts, including fighter aircrafts, are not designed to fly inverted indefinitely. While modern aircrafts can fly inverted for a limited time, the aircraft's fuel supply, hydraulics, lubrication, and the pilot's ability to operate the aircraft optimally while being inverted are all limiting factors. The main cannon of the MiG-27, the Gasha 630, has a powerful recoil. Firing the cannon causes extreme vibrations and noise, to the point of damaging the aircraft's landing lights, electronics, fuel tanks, and the gun sight. and in at least one case, causing the instrument panel to fall off or the canopy to accidentally jettison. The main rotor of the UH-1 Huey helicopter is secured by a single nut, commonly referred to as the Jesus nut. This component is considered to be a single point of failure, which could lead to catastrophic consequences if it were to fail. The gearbox assembly of the heavyweight CH-53 helicopter weighs more than the empty weight of a UH-1 Huey helicopter. SR-71 Blackbird used its fuel as a coolant. As the aircraft flew at extremely high speeds and altitudes, its skin heated up significantly, and the fuel flowing through the aircraft acted as a coolant, keeping the aircraft structure from melting. In the early models of the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, the ejection seat was designed to fire downwards to ensure clearance of the tail and rudder during ejection. This made ejection on the ground impossible. The aircraft was nicknamed the Widowmaker due to its high accident rates. Supersonic Spitfire. In early 1944, a Spitfire of the Royal Air Force almost reached supersonic speeds as it went into a dive. Although this was not an accident or an attempt to evade pursuing enemies, this was done to test the behavior of the aircraft as it approached the speed of sound. The Spitfire reached a whopping 0.92 Mach during the dive. MiG-21 Afterburner. The MiG-21s with the SPS system, that is, the flap blowing system, cannot deploy their afterburners when the flaps are set to landing configuration. Hence, when coming in for a landing, the landing flap should be deployed at the very last moment, or else things might get tricky in case of a go-around. MiG-29 air brakes. Speaking of limitations, the MiG-29 also has a limitation with the air brake, where it cannot deploy the air brakes when the centerline fuel tank is present. Upon jettisoning the fuel tank, the air brake can be deployed. The air brake can also not be deployed when the landing gear is out. It also does not deploy fully at higher speeds. MiG-23 that went pilotless. On 4th of July 1989, a lone Soviet Union MiG-23 invaded the West. It flew over German and Dutch airspace before crashing into a Belgian countryside. The weird part in all this was the fact that it flew all this distance without a pilot, as the pilot of the MiG-23 had ejected during takeoff due to a technical failure. KF-50 ejection seats. The Russian KF-50 Black Shark was the first helo to feature an ejection mechanism for its pilots. In order to save its pilots from becoming mincemeat, the rotor would detach before ejecting the pilot out of the cockpit. Viggen Reverser. The Swedish AJS-37 Viggen was the first aircraft to feature the iconic canard design, but it also had another trick up its sleeve. It had a thrust reverser that could be deployed on the ground, giving it extreme versatility for short landings and also the capability to operate from makeshift runways. F-16 Hook. The F-16, along with a few other jets, although being land-based jets, still possess an arrestor hook. No, these are not provided to make emergency landings on aircraft carriers. On the contrary, these are designed to assist in stopping the plane on runways in case of a failure in the braking system. The F-35 was a copied design. The iconic F-35 to the observant few might look eerily similar to the Cold War Soviet jet Yak-41. Was the design of the F-35 stolen? No. In fact, the designers of the F-35, Lockheed Martin, actually purchased the design from the Yakovlev Design Bureau. US stole an Mi-25 using the Chinook. On June 1988, amidst the Chad-Libyan conflict, US forces managed to capture a Libyan Mi-25 attack helicopter. In order to ferry the captured helo to safety, another heavyweight helicopter, the MH-47, which is a variant of the CH-47 Chinook, used specifically for Special Forces operations, was used, leading to one of the most iconic missions the Chinook had ever partaken in. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.